Welcome back to another episode of Around the World. This is episode 20. As we continue to move along this NBA season, we reach our first, I would say, big milestone. Obviously, episode 10 is a little milestone, getting to double digits for the first time, but we are now a fifth of the way to 100 episodes. It's going to take me about a full year to get to 100 episodes based on the fact that I post roughly 2 a week, and also with holidays and things like that where I just won't post, like what happened on Thanksgiving. It's going to take a while to get to 100, but this is a first big milestone. So anybody who's been listening, whether it's for an episode or for all 20, I really, really do appreciate it. Let's get things started here on episode 20 with our usual starter, and that is the community question, which is how can the NBA fix their ratings problem? There's been a lot of debate over this on social media and on TV as well. People believe so many different reasons as to why the ratings are down. Me personally, I think it has to do largely with social media. If you want to see me talk about it in short, it's about a 2-3 minute video. I posted it over on TikTok. Look up WardyBoss30. Link should also be in the profile both on Spotify and on YouTube, wherever you're listening or watching to this episode. There's been debates that it's being social media, it's the three-pointers, it's the fouls, it's players not playing, it's the expenses of League Pass, it's XYZ. All that sort of stuff. I talk about my personal opinion over on there, and I want to hear your guys' opinion because I think it is important for us as fans to recognize that the NBA does have an issue. Maybe it has nothing to do with the actual games at all, and maybe it has to do with, like I said, something like social media, something like the expenses it takes to watch the NBA, something like that. So I want to hear your guys' opinions on what you think could be causing the ratings problem, or what you think could fix it. Say it's making League Pass $50. Instead of 120 or whatever it is, some sort of idea that could potentially fix the problem. Now let's get into the weekly notes. We have no true topic for today's video. We're just going to discuss what happened over this week, and I'm going to start this out by saying I think this potentially could be the best week we've had in the NBA. We still got a weekend ahead of us, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday games, but this could definitely be the best week in the NBA. Yeah, the NBA Cup final on Tuesday, which we'll talk about, and then Monday and Thursday, even without playing games on Wednesday, Monday and Thursday were absolutely electric. Absolutely electric. There was so much going on, some insane performances, so let's get right on into it. Starting with Monday, Jimmy and Cade Cunningham go at it. This was one of the games I was not expecting to turn into one of the games of the night, and this happened regularly, both on Monday and Thursday. The games that I felt like, I don't think I really need to fully tune into that one. Maybe I'll check in if it's a close game at the end. Ended up actually being the best games. Best stat lines, close games, overtime, that sort of stuff. And this was the most prime example of that. Let me look at the exact stat lines here because I don't want to mess up stats from this game. 124-125 was the final score. Jimmy Butler puts up a 35-19-10. I almost said 30 and 20, so good thing I double-checked the stats. 35-19-10. And then Cade Cunningham puts up his own triple-double, 20 points, 18 assists, 11 rebounds. It's ridiculous. This is the type of stuff that is making the NBA so fun and why I think the CBA was a great decision. The decision to kind of restrict teams heavily. Don't let teams just go into the second apron without repercussions because overall it's going to funnel more spread out stars, spread out young talent, all that sort of stuff, and foster a competitive league. I know the Western Conference and Eastern Conference are different right now in terms of who's the better side and who's the worse side. But when you look at it, outside, let's say we get rid of the top 2 teams in each conference because the Cavs and Celtics are pretty big outliers, and then the Thunder's an outlier in comparison to the Grizzlies, but we'll just take the Grizzlies out. If you take both of those 2 teams out, in the Western Conference, from 3 all the way down to 12 is a 6-game gap, nearly 30 games into the season. 25-ish games into the season, 25 to 30. Eastern Conference, the 3 seed, Knicks, all the way down to the 12 seed, a 7.5 game gap. I mean, we're talking win streaks away from that amount being how much you go up. Like going on a 3-game win streak, you could legit move up 3 seeds in the conference. It's no longer, the guaranteed 5 teams at the bottom, the guaranteed teams in the play-in, and whatever. There's, of course, teams that you expect that are going to be at the top, like the Celtics, and like the Thunder recently. But at the same time, you're having teams that, like the Hawks right now, I think everyone would be thinking of them having a great season, right? Trae Young's been phenomenal, although he's been inefficient. Still think he's going to be an all-star. Reese Shea looks like a nice young talent developing. Dyson Daniels looks awesome. Jalen Johnson looks awesome. all those sort of things. And yet, if they go on like a little 2-game win streak and the Bulls and Pacers go, or 2-game losing streak and the Bulls and Pacers go on a 2-game win streak, well, they're 9 now and they're like tied with the Nets. So you see what I mean here? Like it's so even, and I think this fosters some incredible games that you don't expect. It's very rare now to have just ridiculous blowouts, unless it's like just a ridiculous night like what happened with Curry. Like Curry had the worst game of his career. Draymond probably had the worst game of his career, both in the same night. And without that, like I think that game would have been close, and it's fostering all of the CBA and more even teams is fostering these more competitive matchups where on any given night there is legit a chance. This Pistons team that went out and beat the Heat on Thursday were down 30 to the Jazz at the end of the first quarter. And the Jazz are a bad team. Like, it's so all over the place, and I absolutely love it, and I think it's great for the NBA. Speaking of spreading out the talent, it is time. I have spent too long not talking about this guy, simply because his team has been just so meh. Actually, worse than meh, although they have had a fun little rebuild. And that's RJ Barrett, man. When the initial trade happened, I was kind of like, oh, that's cool. He's going to go get a chance to, really be a number 2 guy. Of course, Scottie Barnes is injured, so now he's the number 1 guy. And he is making the most of that. He is going to be due for a potential big contract if he gets the chance. I think he already did actually get paid. Extension. He's going to be a big piece of trade fodder for this Raptors team. And who knows, maybe he's playing so good that the Raptors just decide we have to keep you as part of this rebuild. Because that's legit how good he's playing. And this is not some outlier season in terms of efficiency. And that's the biggest reason as to why I think it's awesome. And I think he has a legit chance to be an all-star, although I think it would highly, highly resonate on not the fan vote and more so coach vote to get him that all-star. 23 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists on the year. When you look at his efficiency, it's not anything ridiculous. It's not shooting a career-high 3-point percentage. He's not shooting a career-high 2-point percentage. He's not shooting a career-high field goal percentage. He's not even shooting a career-high free throw percentage. Yet, career-high in points, career-high in rebounds, and biggest of all, career-high in assists by 2. By 2 entire assists, he is having his career high. That is making the most of your opportunity, and this would be what an MIP potentially looks like. I still think right now Franz is the far and away favorite, especially if he can come back and play roughly 60 games. I think he can put in that dispute to get through the 65-game threshold and end up winning that award. But this is what I think about when I think about MIP. We knew RJ Barrett was a solid player. We're just kind of waiting. We're just kind of waiting for that blow-up season or that chance for him to really prove himself, and he's doing that. If you look back at last season in total he shot 36% with the Knicks and the Raptors. You go back to 2020, probably his real breakout season when the Knicks really got a bunch of value out of him. He shot 40% from 3. So there's still more to be unlocked here. Like, we know he legitimately can be better. We know it for a fact. Efficiency-wise, he most certainly can be. The playmaking leap is massive. It's huge. The points per game leap is pretty big. I mean, that's and compared to season average from last year, that's a 3-point jump with not even improved efficiency. So if he gets the efficiency up a little bit, say he gets it to 36% from 3 again, say he gets that field goal percentage to 46, 47, where he had it at 49 last year, we're talking about RJ Barrett being a 25, 6, and 6 guy. Legitimately. So I want to give him props because I have not talked about him all season long. I've seen this, and every time I'm just kind of like, now's not the day to talk about it. But he went off on Monday, and I was like, you know what? I need to talk about how good RJ Barrett's been. I think it's going to be one of the most underrated seasons in the NBA this season, if he can stay healthy, because I don't think he's going to get credit for it. I don't think he's going to be an MIP finalist, if I'm being honest, because guys like Franz are going to be up there. Even a guy like Cade, maybe Wembanyama, could be up there. Dyson Daniels is certainly on that list right now, and there's probably even more I'm forgetting. So I don't think he's going to get recognized for MIP. I don't think he's going to be an all-star, although if you look at the stats and compare him to people who are saying they're going to be all-stars in the East, RJ Barrett certainly has a debate. He might get absolutely zero credit for this season, outside of just people recognizing the stats, and he has been phenomenal. Shout out to RJ Barrett. I want to move on to another guy who's having, I wouldn't say a career reviving year, but I would call it a vintage year. I would call it a vintage year 100%. Again, he has not been at his best, but he still looks phenomenal, and that is James Harden. He has steered the ship for this LA Clippers team for the first 25 games of the season. 24. I personally predicted them at 13. I think a lot of people also had them pretty low, considering we didn't know what was going on with Kawhi. They had a bunch of kind of misfit players jump into the fold, and James Harden has led this team to 16-12, fifth in the Western Conference. That is almost exactly what they were last year in terms of seeding. They're 1.5 games behind where they finished last year in seeding. That's ridiculous. Actually, no. I think they are. Did they finish fifth last year? Let's look this up. 23-24 NBA playoffs, because I know they played the Mavs the first round. That was the 4-5 matchup, and I think the Clippers were 4. But I mean, either way, they're about the same as they were last year. Yeah, they were the 4 seed, so they're 1.5 games out of where they were last year. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. If they lost Paul George, and I know Paul George hasn't had the most amazing season of all time with Philly, but that's a legit player that they lost, an all-star, a recent all-star, a 20-point per game scorer that they lost and replaced with a couple, like I said, little misfit players, and they still don't even have Kawhi yet, and James Harden is steering this team to one of their better seasons over the last few years. If Kawhi does come back, which who knows when or if that's even going to happen, this team, if he stays healthy, could legitimately fight for a top 4 seed in the Western Conference and be better than they were last year, which is incredible. He had a 41-point performance the other day. He's just ridiculous. He's putting up these vintage performances that I'm just not, like, I wasn't expecting. When I saw James Harden go to Philly and really become that playmaker, like he was having 10 assists, he led the league in assists, if I'm not mistaken, when he was with Philly. When he goes to Clippers, does kind of the same thing, learns that pick and roll mess. Oh my goodness, learns that pick and roll mesh with Zubac, and then kind of finds himself. The Clippers go on that big streak, and then of course they fall at the end of the season last year, and then the Mavs beat him in the first round. Although the Mavs did pretty much beat every good team in the Western Conference outside of the Nuggets last year. And I come back this year, and I'm kind of expecting, like, okay, he's going to be a playmaker Harden, but I don't think that's going to be enough for them to be good. And he has been playmaker Harden a lot of times, but he's also been scoring James Harden. Averaging 22 points on the season to go along with his 8 assists. He's still not even efficient. He's not even shooting 40% from the field. And yet he's still putting up incredible games. Games that would be career nights for most people in the NBA. 41 points against Utah on Monday. It's not the perfect season, but he doesn't need to, statistics-wise, he doesn't need to be anything ridiculous for this team to win. And that's incredible because there's still more on the table for him. His efficiency absolutely can get better. This is his worst efficiency in a long time. This is worst efficiency, actually, of his career. If the season ended today, it'd be the worst efficiency of his career. His only time in his career being below 40% from the field. So it's going to go up. The efficiency is only going to get better. I'm not going to sit here and expect James Harden to have a career low 3-point percentage and field goal percentage in the same season. I just don't think that's going to happen. I just don't. So maybe the assists don't take a jump. Maybe he sticks at 8 where he was last year. But I think the points can take an even higher jump. And again, like we said with RJ Barrett, he can move up to 25 points per game. And James Harden can have a potential all-star season. He really can. So I just want to give shout-outs where they're due, man. I've been talking so much about topics, about rumors in the NBA, about ratings, about the NBA Cup, all that sort of stuff. I want to give shout-outs where they're due as best I can. Harden, RJ Barrett, hell, Cade Cunningham, Jimmy Butler. We talked about him earlier in the episode, really getting his trade value up. Because I kind of going into this year was like, I don't think Jimmy Butler has it anymore. I think he's going to have a not great year. And I think whoever is going to pay him next year would be a fool to do so. And he is certainly making that look like it's not the case. Incredible from all 4 of those guys that I mentioned, Jimmy, Cade, RJ, and Harden. We've got more players to shout out in the second half of the episode. On to Tuesday, though, just one game on that day. It was the NBA Cup final. Although I think it wasn't the most exciting game, it was a defensive battle. And it was a defensive battle. And the Thunder really just struggled from 3, to be honest. That was the biggest thing. They really just struggled from 3. It wasn't like the Bucks were playing incredible defense, although they were. They absolutely were. Some of it was just the Thunder missing open shots. Giannis puts up a triple-double, probably the best performance in the NBA Cup final we're going to see for some time. A near 25, 2010. AD had a phenomenal performance last year, but it's going to take a while for that one to be topped. But like I said, an inefficient night for the Thunder. But overall, I think the NBA Cup had another successful season. I really do like it. I made the video and I made TikToks talking about how I think they can fix it with the games not being played in Vegas, kind of stopping that dull crowd moment. Maybe getting more nationally televised games on it when they get Amazon Prime and NBC into the fold. It's not perfect, but overall, I think it was a phenomenal idea and well executed so far from the NBA. I have to give them credit when they deserve it, and they absolutely do deserve it. It's been a phenomenal addition. It got so much hate when it first happened, similar to the plan, and now players and teams really care. Fans really care. Those knockout the quarterfinal knockout rounds where they're playing on their home courts are so fun. It's so fun. It feels like a little mini playoff environment. It almost feels like, you know how when you're in high school, you have, of course, the state tournament, but before that you have the conference tournament to go in or the section tournament to go in. It almost has the vibes of like a section final. You know what I mean? Like where it's like, it's not obviously as hype as the state final would be, like or the NBA finals or the playoff game would be, but it's still really, really exciting, and you know how much it matters to both the players, the team, everything, the organization. And especially the young guys, that 500K bonus, it's really cool to see, and they talked about this on the broadcast, not only the older guys going out there and really putting in an effort trying to get these young guys 500K, but also when the young guys get minutes, man, are they passionate. Like, they really care, because that's 500K in their pocket when, I know the NBA players aren't broke, let me clarify that, but they don't make a lot of money in comparison to other NBA players. Minimum contracts are like $1 million. And some rookies, if you're drafted late, if you're drafted second round, you're barely getting that. Like, it was like record breaking when Bronny got like in the $8 million contract or whatever it was as a rookie. And that's $2 million a year. Rookies make a lot less money. So 500K is a big, big deal to them. It's awesome. It's been well executed. I want to give the NBA props where they deserve it, and they absolutely deserve it here. Another great year of the NBA Cup. And honestly, as a fan, like, it's way harder to win the finals than the NBA Cup. So I'm just kind of hoping, like, hey, we can go out and win the NBA Cup one year if we do well in our group. All that sort of stuff. I just want to have the feeling of watching my team in what feels like a big game. Even though when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, game doesn't count to the regular season. It's 500K, but it's not for me. It's for the players of my team. And literally, it's an in-season tournament. It's not the finals, right? It's not the Larry O'B. It's not the Finals MVP trophy, nothing like that. But it's still just fun. And I want to have my team in that. I think a lot of fans would agree with that. No games on Wednesday. We go on to Thursday and miss another day as to why this week has potential to be the best week of the NBA if everything goes well this weekend and we have some fun games. On Thursday, LeBron gets the title for the most minutes in NBA history. This is what I keep saying to everybody who I can about LeBron. A lot of people hate him, whether it's for off-the-court things, on-the-court things, just because they like to hate on players who do well, kind of like what we saw with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes was so loved, and then he started winning, then he got so hated. That's kind of what happened with LeBron, except it happened very early in his career. When he was with the Cavs, like if we had social media, when he was with the Cavs, everyone would have been begging, get this man some help, and then he leaves to Miami, and everybody hates him. And since then, he's been probably the most hated player in the NBA. Since then, he really has been. Maybe not season by season, but overall, for the last 15 years, he's been the most hated player. And I don't think there's any doubt about it. I want everyone who's like watching the NBA to really recognize how ridiculous this is. I am not kidding when I say I believe that there is a 0% chance you will ever see this again. Ever. That point scoring record is untouchable. Untouchable. Let's look at LeBron's stats real quick, because I need to explain to you how ridiculous this is. Just how insane. LeBron James, 2004 all the way to, of course, 2025 by the end of this year. In LeBron James' entire career, points per game, he has never averaged less than 20 points per game. Never. Never averaged less than 20. Simultaneously, he has also played 45 or more games in every single season of his entire career. The only reason he didn't play more in 2021, 2022, he couldn't. There just wasn't enough games. Well, he could, of course. It wasn't a 56-game season, but he could have played more. Or he couldn't have played more. He's played 82 games in a season one time. He's played 81 games another time. 80 games, 79, 79, 78, 75, 76, 79, 76, 77. He's playing the most minutes in the NBA 3 separate times. He's scoring 20 points per game at a minimum. Now it's more like 25 points per game every single season. And he's had, I believe, one season-altering injury, and that was the first year with the Lakers. And even then, he still played 45 games for the Los Angeles Lakers. This game is untouchable. He has 1,517 career games, not including the playoffs. The total scoring, including the playoffs, untouchable. The regular season, untouchable. If you played 21 seasons, 22 seasons, this says, in the NBA, if you played 22 seasons in the NBA and you averaged 20 points per game in every single season, you still wouldn't even be close to LeBron James. It's the most untouchable stat in NBA history. The minutes one, I think, is also going to be very, very difficult to touch, given how many games he plays every season. He really gets hurt. So, like I said, just please take it in what you can. Do not be the person to go hating for no reason. Enjoy it, because you will never see this ever again. And I'll leave it at that, because I don't even know what else to say other than that. All right, let's get into Thursday a little bit more. Get into some actual games. Starting first with probably the most painful watch I think I've ever had as a Timberwolves fan. More painful than losing in the playoffs, more painful than losing in the Western Conference, more painful than watching Luka hit that near buzzer beater over us last year. And that's watching our franchise's most beloved player outside of Kevin Garnett. You could argue the best player in franchise history, although I still think Kevin Garnett is the best player in franchise history. Absolutely demolish us. Cat returns to Minnesota, 32 points, 20 rebounds, 6 assists. A plus 31 in the game. That hurts. That hurts. Not only does Minnesota have its problems, it just hurts because you go off a Western Conference Finals performance. Cat finally got his playoff success with the Timberwolves that he's been waiting for. He sat here for 10 years with one playoff appearance. Well, actually, it's more like 8 years with one playoff appearance. Then we go to play-in. He doesn't play well in the first round against the Grizzlies, or he has some bad games. Gets hated on by almost everybody. Says we should trade him. Stays. Comes out, has another great year. We go to the playoffs, play the Nuggets. Has another not phenomenal series. Hated on by the fans again. Comes back, has one of the best seasons of his career. Comes back from an injury right before playoff time. Wolves win against the Suns. And don't get it twisted, the Wolves do not win that Nuggets series without Karl-Anthony Towns. He defended Jokic large minutes. Many, many, many times he defended Nikola Jokic, and he got it done when it mattered most. I don't care about the poor Western Conference Finals. He stepped up when it mattered most. The Wolves could have won that so many different ways. You cannot blame Karl-Anthony Towns, although, yes, he did not play amazing in that series. So it hurts. It hurts to watch that. As for the Minnesota Timberwolves, the defense is the same as it always has been. Not bad, but without the defense, the team cannot win. They just can't. They've held teams to under 90 points, I believe the most in the NBA this season. I believe they've held teams to under 100 points, some of the most in the NBA this season. But it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Because the offense, no matter what the situation is, playing the worst team in the NBA, the best team in the NBA, the offense is going to score around 100 flat every single game. Every game. So if the defense shows up, you win. If it doesn't, you get blown out by 30 on national television on your home floor. And that's what happened last night. The offense needs to change. I love the defense, but the offense needs to change. Because if you can't put up 110, 120, literally without your defense playing the best defense in the NBA, you won't win. That's how it's been. The Wolves, I believe, in the last 7 games have held teams under 100 5 times. We won all 5 of those games. The 2 games we let up more than 100 points, we lost. So you see a clear pattern there. If the defense shows up, they win. If it doesn't, or a team has a good shooting night like last night, you're screwed. You really are. Let's move on from that before I get even more frustrated with the Timberwolves and losing Cat and all that stuff. Well, real quick shout out to the Knicks moving the way up the conference. I said they could be a top 2 seed, and they're moving the way up right now. We had a couple big upsets. The Bulls beat the Celtics. The Celtics were on an absolute heater. They were cooking up the conference. I was thinking, it's only a matter of time before they catch the Cavs. And they take this loss to Chicago at home, if I'm not mistaken, on the back of a great performance from Zach LaVine. The trade value continues to go up for players on the Bulls. I think it's good. I think it's good for them that they get big wins like this, because I think, at least I hope, the front office is aware, like, we're not going to be a contender. We need to rebuild. And trading Zach LaVine, trading Vucevic are potentially part of that. And so it's good that they're getting the value up. I just hope they make the most of their value, because I'd say Vucevic is at his all-time high value right now since he's been with after leaving the Magic. He's having a career year just in general. He's having a career year from 3, that's for sure. So they need to get the value out of these players while they can. But a phenomenal performance from the Chicago Bulls. I just hope they do the right things with this good season, rather than deciding, hey, let's just go be the 8th seed again and then get jumped in the first round, because that's what happens every year. Another upset, buzzer beater from the Blazers and Anthony Simons, and the Nuggets go down. I believe this one was in Portland, though, so obviously a little bit of a difference. But the Nuggets, they had a real chance to kind of separate themselves. They would have been 15-10, which, if I'm not mistaken, would have put them at 5th, actually, over the Clippers, and separated themselves from a little gap here to the bottom side of the West, because we talked about how the West fluctuates so much day by day. If the Wolves had won last night, they would have been 15-11 and been, the 6th seed right now. Now they're the 8th seed. Like, it fluctuates every single day. And so, I mean, it's a really tough loss when you could have separated yourself or given yourself at least a little bit more of a cushion, which is why these losses to bad teams hurt so bad for these good teams this year. For the Wolves, it really stung losing the Blazers twice. Because if we beat the Blazers twice right now, we're 16-10, and we are the 5 seed right now. Half a game out of the 4 seed. So that type of losses, it really hurts a team. And when it comes down to the end of the year and you look, damn, we missed out on being out of the play-in by a half a game, that half a game might be it. That's it right there. So it's brutal. It's brutal. Those type of losses cannot happen. I don't care who you're playing, both for the Wolves, for the Nuggets, for any of the good teams in either conference. And our last topic of the day, let's talk about him, because it feels like every episode I got to bring him up, because he's putting up another incredible stat line, probably the best game of his career. In my opinion, Victor Wembanyama, 42 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 blocks, and the Spurs stay alive in the Western Conference. That's how I describe it. Wemby has kept them alive. This is a game against a good Hawks team. The Hawks team had won like 7 of their last 9, had a few days rest, and Victor Wembanyama puts up his career best performance, and the Spurs are above 500, man. The Spurs, by the time I'm talking to you after the weekend, could be like the 8th seed in the Western Conference. That's a realistic situation. It's incredible. Victor Wembanyama, I still think, has a legit chance to win Most Improved Player, although I think Franz is most definitely the heavy favorite, like I talked about earlier in this episode. But he is far from out of the conversation. When I talked to you guys a few weeks ago about it, I was like, I don't know if he's going to win it. He's most definitely got an opportunity now. Let's look at the exact stats to wrap out this video and talk about the improvement that he's had. Last year, he had 21 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.2 steals, 3.6 blocks. He's doing essentially the same thing, except he's more efficient, and he's gotten a 4-point jump. For me personally, I don't think the rebounds are going to go up. I think that's definitely going to stay firmly at 10. The assists definitely can go up. The efficiency is going to continue to go up with Chris Paul. If he can get up and keep improving, specifically from 3, because he's not been super efficient from 3, I was kind of expecting him, honestly, to be more like 36. He's at 34 right now. If he moves up to, say, a 27-point per game scorer, you're not going to be able to ignore, like, he's going to win DPOY this year. I think everybody's aware of that. you're not going to be able to ignore this season and say it's not an MIP season, because you go from, he won Rookie of the Year, but he didn't make All-NBA. He wasn't even an All-Star last year, to I think he's going to be an All-Star this year, in all likelihood, especially with injury and stuff. He's probably going to make the All-Star game, and he could potentially be All-NBA. He's most definitely going to be All-Team First Defense, or all defensive first team. He's most definitely going to be Defensive Player of the Year. So you added like a 6-point jump to that. He could definitely win Most Improved Player. But that does it for the episode. A little bit, actually, I thought it was going to be a little bit longer, but that felt like a lot longer, but it actually was a regular 30-minute episode. So as always, if you made it to the end, I really do appreciate it. If you're watching over on YouTube, all episodes can be found over on Spotify. Look up Around the World, look up WordyBoss30, you'll find me, and links in the description. If you're listening over on Spotify, you can find me over on YouTube. Same thing, look up Around the World, look up WordyBoss30, you will find me, and of course the link is in the description on Spotify as well. If you guys have any comments to make, talking about the community question, talking about any other topic, something you want to ask me, something you want to just say because you feel like talking about it, be sure to drop it down in the comments below. I will be sure to reply, whatever it is, to that comment. If you are able, it'd be great if you guys could share, repost, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to do. The content, it really does help the channel and grow the community. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching if you made it to the end, and I'll see you guys on Monday for episode 21 of Around the World.